Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to whatever this is or turns out to be. Backstory. This will make more sense if you watch the video, a quick view of a 2.2 tire called the Hobbypark. I called them the Art Decos because the pattern on them really evokes Art Deco for me. They are nameless. They are on Amazon. They have no compound listed. They were extraordinarily wide. They were a remarkably wide tire. And when testing them, they scored a 95 on the scoring, which is not bad because if you look at the three groupings of tires, Class 1, Class 2, and then anything bigger than Class 2, Class 3 is kind of where some of the worst tires live. Like, they absolutely, if 4.76 plus definitely contains the ridiculous and the sublime. We have the highest scoring tires ever tested. Tires like the HPI Hot Body Sedona, chisels, hammers, big ruptures, rovers, all of those tires in there, but also some just absolute garbage because the cloners, they don't know what they're making. They will make terrible things. And during the test of that tire, which was, I want to say, over 60 millimeters wide. I can kind of extrapolate when we go on the scale here because what I did was I set them down on the end of the bench and they sat there amongst another grid of tires that either need to be removed from wheels to be tested or just need to be slotted in to be tested. Take off OEs, you name it. There's a bunch of tires sitting down there just waiting for something to happen. And I was waiting for something to happen. I want to say I was charging batteries. I was waiting. That is immaterial. And I got out my trusty pair of Dubros and I haphazardly cut all four of those Hobbypark Decos to pieces. Basically what I did is I took about an inch out of the middle. I cut about 25 millimeters out. There's a big extra section of Art Deco in the center, and I basically just cut along the edge of this outer triangle, took the two outer triangles, glued them together, and made these things. Yes, I cut and shut. And as I've said, we have so many options. There's absolutely no need to do this. Currently, they're on Amazon for, like, as of this recording, like $32 a set. I am absolutely, regardless of what the outcome is, I am not recommending that you do this because if we look right here, Genius Semilimites is pretty much the same size tire. We know these work. You just buy them and bolt them up. But it was constantly there, silently in the background. What if they are better? So also, I do not remember what these are from. Something Amazon, something AliExpress. These are very, very soft. Soft to the point of near unusability in other tires. I mean, look at the size of the foam compared to that. But the wall thickness on this, look, the way I glued it, the beads actually sit against each other. So we're running these on 2 narrows. We're going to run them like it's a Quickview. The cut and shut Art Deco do not do as I do. I did a terrible job of cutting and shutting these. I cut them with curved scissors. And if this lasts the entirety of this, I don't know, call it a test if you want. If it lasts the entirety of all of that lies on Bob Smith IC2000, which is the best tire glue. If you have what you like and you've never used IC2000, the reason that Bob Smith IC2000 isn't your favorite is because you've never used it. It doesn't set up quickly. It's like 30 minutes. And it's got rubber in it so it stays flexible, and it's black. So even if you do a terrible job of gluing a tire together, you can't tell. So my highest recommendation, and in my time and over my years, I have probably used 30 different cyanoacrylates to glue tires, and that is the best one. The Professional, the Loctite Professional, if you don't have access to, I was going to say the internet, but that's where we are now. If you don't want to order glues off of the internet, I get it. The Loctite Professional that you can get from any Lowe's professional liquid, that is probably the best utility super glue because it is cheap, it is readily available, it is non-exotic, it performs the way super glues work. I would not recommend it for this. If you want to cut and shed tires, I won't try to stop you. And honestly, tires that would otherwise get thrown into the tire pit or relegated to whatever or given away for someone else to discover, oh yeah, you know what? He's right, these aren't very good. And then get thrown into their own sort of tire pit or end up in a shoebox in the bottom of a closet. It's not a bad place to start because they are relatively inexpensive. Their weakness is the fact that they are overly wide. And cutting and putting them back together cures the overly wide problem. And they mount up quite easily, I must say. They should not be so narrow that it is too narrow for the sizer. No, not at all. This actually brings them down to 44 wide. So these had to be close to 70 millimeters wide. Did I throw it away already? Digging, digging, yes. We have already disposed of the evidence. It was at least a 1 inch wide. It was at least a 25 millimeter wide strip. So these tires had to be not around 60 millimeters wide, but around 70 millimeters wide. So that is a very soft foam in there. But because of this, the thickness of the carcass and the fact that we took fat bits of the thick carcass and glued them together. Can we get the, let me get right up on the mic. We'll see. How powerful is Bob Smith IC2000? Well, I glued these a little while ago. I wanted to make sure that we got into the full cure of the glue territory. And Wolverine has only been, if memory serves, he has only been out on the rocks one other time since he tested these at their widest. Would I have appreciated it more if he tested them back to back? As, yeah, I mean, you know, I could have cut these apart and glued them together 2 months ago. But there you go. Skinny Art Decos, and due to the height, and due to the fact that they were so comically wide, they actually don't look weird because, as I said, they're basically the same size as these. So, we'll find out. How did he do cutting them apart and gluing them together? Not great. Certainly not. I have not done it, oh God, over 20 years. I haven't cut a tire apart and glued it back together in over 20 years. So, here's hoping that Bob Smith will hold us together. Hey, if it ends in catastrophe, that's a result too. As I said, no one should do this. Just don't do this. Unless you want to, in which case, order your Bob Smith, grab your favorite set of crap tires, cut them apart and glue them together. If you really want to spice it up, and you have 2 sets of crap tires that are the same size, go full Frankenweenie on them. Take the left side of one and the right side of the other and slap those together. There's nothing stopping you. Free will is a marvelous thing. Regardless of what the outcome is, we have an exercise in free will. The Hobbypark Art Deco Ozempic Edition Class 3 Tire Test Protocol. And he's only got an 850 in him, which means we got to hustle on them rocks. Now, please do take into account here at 70, 2165 that we're operating off of a 95.0. So what we would hope for is better than that. To have not made them worse. What we have increased is the noise level. That's a lot of push. Okay, let's see if it'll grab here. Let's see if we can pull them apart. I know there's going to be those moments, you know, fresh mounts. Those foams have got to move around. We got to move those foams around. The turn-in's good. I give them that. Oh, sharp, crispy. They are stiff. They are not of anything one would regard as a compound. See how there's that first, the first 30 seconds of a mounted tire. If a tire comes, quote unquote, out of the box, off the bench, and is immediately good, you know you're in for something. These are not going to be terrible. I honestly think they will probably be a little better than they were. The lug noise is pronounced. They still exhibit an absolute unwillingness. Yeah, that's a weird little tire. Maneuverability on them is up. That has increased. If nothing else, that has increased. They still have a little bit of wishy-washy fallback action. We're having to use far more throttle than I would like. But you know what? I maintain, compared to before, still not terrible. Should you do this? No. But in the event that a thought experiment can be conducted for the cost of about $1 worth of glue, sign me up. The turn-in is fantastic. Listen to that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say this. Something's happening. I don't know if we're breaking the glue beads. I don't know if we're just softening them up. They're getting better. They're not getting a huge amount better, but they are getting better. And because that sidewall is so thick, the way they turn, like we get bam, crisp. Okay. What do we got? Okay, come on, come on, come on, come on. They have definitely retained the not awful that they had before. Are these world beaters? No. But I believe that they do retain a feeling of better than expected at 44 millimeters wide that they did at 70. They are definitely, there's an improvement. It's better. And mind you, recall, a foam so soft, which is not something that happens. Like what are we used to? We're used to foams so firm as to be unusable. The occurrence of foam so soft that it's unusable is exceedingly rare. And these foams match these perfectly. Getting that little slap. Yeah, the side hilling is tragicomic. They're still... How about precise but unpredictable? It's a sniper rifle in a tornado. We don't know where these are going to go. The low speed is okay. The mid throttle is sometimes okay. And they are certainly in a state where nothing was ruined. I don't think there was anything to ruin. Classify it as recycling. Tier 1 recycling. Bup, 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 bup. There's something we said. A tire of this size, if we had a compound, if we had anything resembling a compound, I think we could get somewhere. Yeah. What is to be said of a tire that's not terrible? The bump is above poor, probably a fair. Maybe a little on the poor side of fair. And you do have to use a fair, you got to open a fairly sizable can of beans to bump to where you want to go. What I had was a working theory. That being, the number one thing holding these back was being 70 millimeters wide. The shoulder couldn't work because the way they were deflecting. Now that we've subtracted that, we've gotten that variable removed from the equation. The number one problem now is the compound. Boop. We're at a situation where I can very nearly make these go where I want them to go. Very nearly. But not quite. The fall away is less predictable than I would like. And overall, like flat ground precision, but what they're going to do at any given moment is still kind of a series of question marks. Almost enough. We're asking 2 tires to do the lion's share of work here. So if we had better low speed manipulability, we could get that driver rear to pull. We take a little out. Sounds like a popcorn machine. Distant popcorn maker. They still have a surprising amount of rebound for something with a foam as soft as this. Trying to grab the tiniest little bit. Now, they're not doing this. They can do stuff, but in the spirit of least desirable outcomes is this. I think the narrowing has made them would it be overly generous to say 10% better 10% of the time? Because maybe it would. Because you could ask me, would you go to 96 from the 95 we had before, which would be a percent better? I don't think I would. I think this is fractional, bordering on nominal. I don't think, aside from perhaps side hilling, because, we took away 50 millimeters of section width, it has not gotten markedly worse at anything. But it has not gotten vastly better at anything either. I realize now that, by and large, cutting and shedding today is cutting in a part of another tire to, like, say, turn a 4.25 rock bump into a 4.9 rock bump. Cut a chunk out of one and glue it into the other. Or do the same with ruptures or whatever. Narrowing is a thing that goes on, but I see more often turning 1.9s into 2.2s to get low profile 2.2s. So these are just narrowed, and they were not incredible. I would be comfortable with something, because 93 is the Mendoza line, is the do not go below line. And 95 is kind of the almost a baseline in terms of tire scores. So it really only gives us 4 points to work with. But when I was doing the structure for the scoring, I thought about it. I looked at wine scores were one of the big influences, because I don't think anybody's drinking an 88 wine when there's a 97 out there. So again, we have not terrible, not great. I would be comfortable with like 95.5, 95.6, 95.7, something like that. So, better, but simultaneously not better enough. When someone is cutting together sets of rock bumps, geologic infections, they're starting with the most grip you can buy with your hard-earned money. That pin bar tire is absurd. When you're starting with this, you have a threshold. There's a ceiling. There's a performance ceiling that you can get to. They are getting better, though. That's why I think somewhere in the 95s. Because there is some push. When we made that center cut run, I thought, that's pretty good. That's not just half bad. That's mad decent. It has a tough time. These have a tough time stringing performances together. Aside from that one center cut, which we did right here. Yeah. Aside from 1.5 center cuts, these are And there's the thing about that. My hopes were not so illogically high that I was like, I'm going to transform these. It follows the pattern. tiny toy cars that go slow or otherwise. But for this, we're talking about ones that go slow. What is inside the tire is another variable in a little somewhat crumbly ball of variables. We've just nothing but variables here. There's no such thing as the perfect insert. There's no such thing as the perfect tire. These don't exist. These are ideas. These are concepts. An individual vehicle does have a perfect tire and a perfect insert. But what works for A might not work for B, might be terrible on C, could be rejected on another. So what we're looking at is the qualities of the combo, the tire and the insert on the vehicle on which it is installed. Could you get your performance ceiling? Could you optimize your optimization with these? I mean, sure. They might need more ground pressure, they might need less, they might actually need a softer insert, they might need a little bit something firmer to hold them in place even better. What is your desired level of cumulative investments? How much time do you want to spend? How much effort do you want to spend? How much money do you want to spend? Better is perhaps the most subjective that you can get. Will this combo, whether it's the one you're looking at or the one that you're looking at with your mind's eye, will it be better than the one that is in place now? That's very difficult to say. Replacing virtually every OE tire, any OE tire that you can get, replacing it with something else almost across the board is going to result in an increase in performance. Because that's by design. They do that. Don't think that they don't. If you release a vehicle and it has an original equipment of manufacturer tire that is stunning, well, then you're going to spend less of your hard-earned money on other things. We cannot navigate that corner. The problem is, as there is no perfect tire, no perfect insert, there's something situationally perfect. Finding that situational perspective is more often than not a pattern of trial and error. So when I do these tests, more straightforward tests more mainstream than this one. My goal is to give a framework to operate from. I hope that I can provide an objectivity that this tire, with as many variables minimized as possible, even if we're talking about this one, and I think I'm perfectly content settling on a 95.6, right there in the middle. This tire at a 95.6 is objectively better than the tires that have scored below it. But what is your situation? I'm testing rock crawling. In trail performance, I believe no. My mind's eye just heard a vision of the future. I could hear him falling, landing right down on that flat, and I could hear that suspension link snapping again. And I don't want to fix him today. Not for this nonsense. So I hope that you get something out of him. I hope when you watch a tire review, I hope you say, oh, well, all right. I hope you can interpolate and extrapolate and be like, okay, but my rig is a little heavier or a little lighter. There's no review. I can't review something in a vacuum. I try to minimize the variables. The Ozempic edition Hobbypark Art Deco is nominally better, less than 1%. Went from a 95.0 to a 95.6. It is ever so slightly better. Is it worth the effort? It seems unlikely. if you're going to spend a little more money on one aspect of your tiny toy car that goes slow, let it be tires. They're the only component that should be in contact with the ground, and they kind of determine they direct every other aspect of performance. I would rather deal with a less than optimized powertrain than tires that are just not quite good enough. And to be fair, I wouldn't regard these as good enough before, nor would I regard them as good enough now. Life is too short for not awful. You know, sometimes treat yourself. While you're treating yourself, congratulate yourself. Thank you so much for being here today, for whatever this was. No, I'm not going to run them in a wet. They would just immediately fill with water. They are full of holes now. Thank you so much for joining us here in the canyon today. We look forward to seeing you next time. I look forward to seeing you in the comments on the Discord and all of the other usual places. In between now and when we meet again, please want to all do your very best. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you again here from the canyon. And Wolverine's not mad. I'm not mad. I hope you're not mad. This is a bit... Hey, like I said, a result is a result.